Good evening, good evening, good evening. So, another full week for us this week. We have had news that a couple of sessions are back on. So this week we have Kingston on Thursdays, and the seniors are welcome back at Putney on Friday. Next week we have Colchester on Monday, and apparently rumour is that Brighton's back open, but we haven't had that confirmed yet, so we don't know just yet. And we also sent out an email to all the members this week, so if you didn't get a copy of the email and want a copy of the email, then, or expecting a copy of the email, then drop us a line and we'll get you on the mailing list. It lists the events that we've got coming up next year and a couple of things that we're doing, a couple of things that we've got left to do this year. So as we move forward out of UK lockdown, we that's what we've got. So what I was going to do this week was I did mention I was going to do exercises that you should be doing, everyday exercises that you should be doing, but the video didn't come through, or it didn't quite come through, and I didn't have time to edit it, so I'm going to have to postpone that. But what I am going to talk about is my personal list of 5 things that are not quite true that are taught on freediving courses. So that's my top 5 tonight. If you got questions, you can always put them in the comments, and if I see them and if we've got time, I can always ask a couple of questions. So the top 5 things are number 1 is depth is a good measure of how good freedive you are. Now, if you know anything about my live streams or anything about no tanks or anything about what we teach, we go through this quite a lot, and there's many instances where you see people advertising courses that will get you to a certain depth, as if that's some sort of measure of how good a freediver you are. So depth is not a good measure of how good a diver you are. It's not a good measure of how good a diver you are, because you might bomb down to whatever depth, touch it, come back. You may have damaged your body in some way. You might have really made it look horrible. It might have been a really dreadful dive, but you got the depth and you got that number. So it's not a good demonstration of how good, or a good measure of how good you are. But more than that, and again, we've been through this quite a few times on the live stream, that actually having numbers in the forefront of your mind destroys your ability to progress, absolutely decimates it. So that's my number 5, and I put it lowest in the group in number 5 because I just go on about it all the time. So depth is not a good measure of how good a freediver you are. Okay. Number 4. So let's have a look. Belly breathing. Okay, so people teach belly breathing a lot, diaphragmatic breathing, and they generally teach it kind of wrong. It's very simple. This is my top 5 of things that are not quite true. So belly breathing is very simple to start with, but very quickly as you progress into pranayamic techniques or freediving breathing techniques, whichever way you want to name it, very quickly you move on from just filling your belly full of air. So I've got a little video. Hopefully this will work. So this is just breathing with my diaphragm, filling my belly full of air and filling and then breathing out. But we should actually lock the lower part of the abdomen. So above where you can see the waistband should be locked below that. Now, if you can pull up on the perineum or a mudra bandha and a root lock, it locks the internal organs, and this is a much better way. So this was looped again. So this is just normal belly breathing. If you see the waistband moves, then we lock it, and you see it pulling in at the waistband, and then we're breathing in the top half of the belly. That's how you should belly breathe. Okay. So anybody who just starts with a belly breathing, or rather starting belly breathing, just say fill your belly full of air, is fine. That's a good start of a 10. But moving forwards, you want to be able to lock at the lower half of your abdomen and breathe. I say kind of describe it as breathing over your belt. Okay, it's a much better way. Now, Ted's just asked, how's it feel? Well, mudra bandha or root lock, pulling up on the perineum, or locking the dantian if you're into qigong or any of the Chinese qi movements. You're pulling up on the anus and the sex organs. You're pulling them up and locking in between, and this gives it's called a root lock in Sanskrit, and it locks the lower half of the pelvic floor, which gives everything you do solidity. Okay, where the power comes from, it locks, and so everything you do after that has a lot more efficiency with that. And yeah, like the difference between lower abdominal locking and lazy belly breathing. So Ted, thank you very much, Ted. You have that's exactly it. You've said it in one sentence, but I've been waffling on about for a couple of minutes. Yeah. Okay. So again, this is my 5. So that's number 4. Okay. People teaching belly breathing and just kind of give a really simplistic view of it, which is fine to start with. Not quite true. We really want to move it on from there. Okay, so number 3 on my list. It's going to be. I'm going through this pretty quickly tonight, so they're going to. Yeah, you like the t-shirt there? Yeah, do a quick shout out. I'm going a bit too quick, so I've got to slow it down. So this is a Freediving Menorca t-shirt. Yeah. Big up, Adam. Okay, so number 3 is hook breathing. Now, hook breathing came to freediving Kirk Brack. I don't know who Kirk Brack is, but he stole it from Kirk Crack. So Kirk Crack came over. I saw him in 2001, 2002 maybe, somewhere about them, and he was talking about hook breathing. And that was his kind of just started bringing it into freediving about that sort of time. And he took hook breathing from the American fighter pilots in the Second World War, where they had the technology of their planes. They could go quite fast, and they could pull big G's going up and changing directions, and their pilots were blacking out. And they had G suits actually in the end. When what G suits had, they have water pipes in them that compress the body and increase the pressure, blood pressure in the brain. So when they're pulling these big G's, you might have seen videos of the big machines that they swing people around to kind of simulate this sort of the thing. And as the pressure comes down like this, you see their faces drop and they grey out or black out due to low blood pressure. Well, before they had these G suits, when they were pulling big G's in these aircrafts, the pilots were hook breathing. Okay? And it's a way of increasing the blood pressure just in the head, really, not necessarily in the brain, but in the head. And they would do hook breathing just before they did any big maneuvers to stop them graying out and blacking out. Okay, so that's what hook breathing does. And that's where it came into freediving. Kirk Crack brought it back again. It's the same guy. Kirk Crack brought it into freediving. Early noughties, and he was teaching people it as it was to increase the blood pressure in the brain. Now, if you are subject to low blood pressure, okay, so if you stand up too quick and you feel dizzy, okay, a lot of the time, I know everybody kind of gets it, from time to time, but if you get it a lot of the time, then you may have low blood pressure. Okay. Now, at the end of a free dive, where you might have been like holding in a little bit of tension, you've certainly been holding your breath for a while, and you might feel some pressure there. When you come up and you start breathing, there's a sudden drop in blood pressure, and in some people this is enough to make them kind of black out. It's not a blackout due to breath hold, it's a blackout due to low blood pressure. Right? Similar sort of result, the person blacks out, but you can tell the difference. It's when they come up and they look, compos mentis, the finning has been strong, or the pulling's been strong, whatever they've been doing, and their movements are strong and solid, and you can look in your eye and you can tell that they are compos mentis, and they come up, yeah, I'm okay, and then they go in a kind of soft kind of wave. Okay? You can combat this low blood pressure at the end of a breath hold by hook breathing. Okay. Now, I don't know whether it'll, let me see if I can get a bit of light on my forehead. Okay, so hook breathing, you take a breath in, and then you squeeze the abdominals, okay, pull up on the perineum, do the mudra bandha, the root lock, and squeeze. And if the blood vessels don't start kind of not bulging, but on the forehead, you're not doing it enough. You're not increasing the blood pressure significantly in the head. So I shall try and do it for you. So and you can see my face going red. I was looking at the kind of screen to see if you can see the blood vessels, but you can see the change. You can see, and I can certainly feel the change. Okay, so that is increasing the blood pressure, and it's quite hard work. So, if you are subject to blacking out due to low blood pressure at the end of the dive, you should be doing hook breathing. If you don't suffer from low blood pressure, it's not really much use to you. Okay, the problem being is when you come out of a dive, you want to get as much oxygen into your body as possible. Okay, yeah, you want to clear out the CO2. That's not for a normal breath hold, not dangerous. Okay, you want to get oxygen in. So adding some sort of breathing pattern in, like hook breathing, is complicated matters. So you come up, and Kirk Crack was teaching a kind of stepped hook breathing, and I presume he still is, and that's certainly what I teach, that if you use the hook breathing, you'll come out, breathe out completely, and then full in, hook breathe, out and in, hook breathe, out and in, hook breathe. In fact, that's the other way around. So it's a stepped. So I forget what I was talking about. Stepped. You breathe out a little bit, in, hook breathe, out half, in, hook breathe, out all the way, in, hook breathe. Okay, but you're effectively holding your breath again while you hook breathe just after a breath hold. So there's pros and cons to it. Now, unfortunately, Kirk taught somebody who taught somebody else who then, and I'm not sure whether it's actually written in the SSI books, the literature from SSI, not sure if it's actually written in there or whether it's just word of mouth, but somebody said it increases oxygen to the brain. Well, it kind of does, in the fact that if you've got plenty of oxygen in your blood and you kind of increase the amount of blood in your head or the pressure, then it's going to ipso facto increase the oxygen in your brain. But it doesn't actually do it straight out. And it's more important about the blood pressure than increasing the oxygen. So somewhere in that kind of SSI start, kind of where they started out, Linda and I believe Lotta Eriksson, and I believe Linda over in Dahab helped write the original SSI. And I don't know whether it's in the SSI literature. I should really look it up, shouldn't I? But hook breathing is definitely in there. The reason for it, by word of mouth, has now filtered to everybody that it increases the oxygen in your brain. It doesn't. It just keeps the blood pressure up. So, for me, if you suffer from low blood pressure, learn hook breathing. And it's hard work. So when you see people coming up and just go, it's not doing anything. Okay? It takes, as you saw when I did it, a few seconds before it actually kind of increases the pressure. And it has to be hard work. So you're only coming up, and this is why we teach the stepped. I mean, you don't have to do the stepped. This is just an extra tweak on it that makes it a little bit better. So you come up. Now that was a good hook breathe recovery. Okay, so unless you're doing it with that sort of effort, which takes a lot of muscular control, you're not doing it. It's not worth doing. But on the flip side, that's a lot of effort. So, hook breathing doesn't increase blood oxygen to the brain, just increases the blood pressure, which is good, but maybe not what you think it is. Okay, so that's number 3. Number 2, Uddiyana bandha. Now, this it means flying up in the in Sanskrit. And it's one of the bandhas. It's a lock. It's quite a few people call it the root lock. It's not. It's flying up. It's the mid lock, flying up lock anyway. And you see a lot of freedivers do it. Okay, so and if you don't know what it is, this is what it is. So in the traditional pranayama, you lean forward, your hands on your hips, and you pull the diaphragm up, and you sit back, okay, or stand up straight. And you must never do it on a full breath hold. It always has to be an empty breath hold, otherwise it puts a lot of strain on the heart, so they say. Equally well, you mustn't concave the chest in, which some people do. The arms should be back. As you can see, my arms are back, and it's pulling up. Okay, so why do people do it? Diaphragmatic flexibility, to help you go deep. It's not quite true. It's good. It's okay. So here we go. And this is why I say this is things that aren't quite true on freediving courses. Yes, Uddiyana bandha is a good breathing technique, and in fact, Iyengar does say that once you've learnt the locks, you must get an instructor, because it's quite dangerous to just kind of use these locks. So Iyengar says you must get an instructor once you've learnt the locks to guide you through it. So that's kind of interesting that most people don't mention it. They just kind of show a picture of Uddiyana bandha and show them what it looks like. But why do they teach it? Diaphragmatic flexibility. Now, diaphragmatic flexibility, diaphragmatic control is very good. Also massages internal organs, which is also very good. And if you use it with the root lock, it really does allow the energy to kind of be directed up if you prescribe to the energy ideas. But it's very good for you, and it's very good. but it doesn't help you go deep. Now, we've been through this several times before. Chest flexibility is what allows you to go deep, because as you saw, and I'll show the video again, the lungs, which are in the top half, so they're from the rib cage upwards, okay, are not being, the diaphragm is not taking the place of where the lungs are. Okay, the diaphragm cannot go high enough into the chest cavity to take place of the lungs. Okay, so one of those things that's not quite true that they teach, and it looks good. So you see a lot of pictures of people, you know, sitting on a rock, you know, pulling up, doing Uddiyana bandha. Okay, doesn't help with freediving much at all. Okay, it looks pretty trick, and it's not bad for you, and it's a good technique. It's not going to be the end thing you need when you go freediving. It's not going to help. Okay, I'll come back to your question in a minute, Ted. I think that was relating to hook breathing number 3. Okay. So, number 2, Uddiyana bandha. Now, 2A, I'm going to put a proviso on this one. So, when people are teaching pranayama, and they talk about the Uddiyana bandha, and they're talking about the other bandhas and the pranayamic techniques, incidentally, you want to get a copy, if you're interested at all about breathing techniques, by Light on Pranayama, which is the second of his books. The first one's Light on Yoga, an amazing book, but this is the book you need on pranayamic breathing techniques. Okay, but people teach alternate nostril breathing. Okay, so this is 2A, the thing that's taught, my number 2 annoyance, people teaching it not quite right. So you breathe through both nostrils. Generally, on a healthy person would breathe something like 40 minutes through one nostril. It gently breathes, it blocks up, and then breathes through the other nostril for about 40 minutes. And depending on what you're doing, whether it's an artistic or a strength activity, you'll breathe through one nostril more than the other one. And as you get into the activity, the breathing changes. Okay, so for unity of the body and the mind, body, and soul, it's good if you can breathe evenly through both nostrils for meditation, breathing, or all over body well-being. Okay, so what you can do is you can cover one nostril and breathe in through the other nostril, and then cover the other nostril and breathe through one and the other. That's why it's called alternate nostril breathing. But the subtleties of that are incredible. You must never, unless the right hand is out of action, you should never use your left hand. This is my right hand, so you should use your right hand, don't use your left hand. You should always use your right hand. Equally well, the way you position your fingers, okay, is very, very specific. Okay, so you can see here that the thumb is pushing against the little finger and the ring finger, but there's also a little bit of separation between the knuckles. Okay, in fact, there are 6 points that you should be aware of when you're using this grip, and they're kind of listed here, and you should be able to put you should put a similar level of pressure on each of those points. Okay, because the internal nostrils, the internal part of the nostrils are very sensitive and control a lot of different things. So when you are learning alternate nostril breathing, you should learn how to set your fingers up correctly before doing it. I mean, you can do it with covering the third eye, but generally these 2 fingers curled in touch pressure points on this part of the hand here, which change the way the body functions, plus the pressures on those 3 fingers should be even. Okay, because the different parts of where you put the pressure on the nostril affects how your mind and body work. Okay, so if you're going to go down the pranayamic route, okay, don't forget these are top 5 things that aren't quite true, aren't quite taught correctly. if you're going to go down the pranayamic route, just saying, yeah, just shove your thumb on and then your finger, you are missing out on a huge part of the reason why you do this exercise. A huge part. Okay? So, again, when people just say, oh, yeah, just breathe through one nostril and then the other, no, it's not quite true. Yeah, it will have benefits. In fact, if you read Iyengar's, he says it actually won't have benefits. It'll actually be detrimental to you if you just do that. But he suggests it takes several months to get that hand position correctly before you can create the right pressures on the nostrils and evenly around each nostril. So that's number 2B. Okay. In fact, in this book, which is why I've got it here, there's 32 pictures and 17 pages explaining how you should do alternate nostril breathing, or digit breathing, as he calls it, or because you're using the digits. There you go. So 32 pages, 17 pages. So just going in there with I'll breathe through one nostril and then the other. It's anyway. And my number one thing that's not taught quite right is it's all about the feeling. Now, years ago, I had an argument. I'm not going to say an argument. Somebody on the interweb saying, Marcus, you haven't got the rights, the sole rights to relaxation in diving. We all do it, or lots of people teach it, or something like that. Now, it's true. I haven't got sole rights to the kind of the concept of feelings and relaxation, but quite a few people will say it's all about the feeling, but actually really not follow through. Now, I watched a YouTube video by a YouTuber. It's called Sailing the Vagabond, and he went to the Vertical Blue competition and was with Adam Stern. Now, Adam's a great guy. I've seen his stuff. I know his stuff. Never met him. I might have met him once years ago, but anyway, not really met him. Don't know him. But unfortunately, Adam, I'm really sorry, Adam. He did the classic. It's not. It's all about the feeling. Oh, I know. I'll tell you what. I'll show you the video. So this is the point of view of. Okay, so let me. Before I show you the video, the guy who's making the video has just done a dive. He's been taught by Adam, and this is his point of view camera as he comes up. Okay, so as he comes up, and Adam's there, and he grabs the rope, and first thing he does is look at his computer, and then Adam says, "How's it? Yeah, not too bad. Let's focus on the feeling rather than the depth." Yeah, says Adam, and then looks at the watch and goes, "Shit, good." So what I'm saying is, okay, the guy looks at his computer. Why has he got a computer on? He's a learner. He's the first thing he's going to do is look at his computer and then distinguish. Goes back to my first point. Depth is not a good measure of how good you are. But he's got a computer, so his first thought is, I'm going to look at my computer. Okay. Well, that's the beginner's fault. Okay. Adam then says beautifully, he says, "Hey, let's concentrate on the feeling." And I'm like, "Yeah, Adam, you're in there." And then grabs the computer, looks at it, and says, "Oh, shit deep," or "shit something depth," or now that sounds bad. "Shit, that is deep," or something like that. Completely slapping away the idea it's all about the feeling. Didn't ask, and what I really wanted him to ask was, let's concentrate about the feeling. How did it feel? And then ask the guy, how did it feel, etc., etc. Let's just watch this video again, because everybody falls in the trap. It's so easy to say it's all about the feeling. It's so easy to tell the students, don't worry about the depth, think about how it feels, relax. But it's so hard to actually do it and follow through. It's so hard. So let's watch this video again. So he comes up and he does his recovery breaths. I believe it's cut there, so I presume he's doing recovery breaths. First thing is, he looks at his computer when he's asked, how is it? And then he goes, not bad. And he goes, let's focus on the feeling rather than the depth, yeah? And then looks at the computer and says, oh yeah, man, that's super deep. What can I say? Look, there's the shot. And I think the person in the background's not happy either. They're like, oh man, is he looking at that dive computer? Anyway, so it's so hard. And I say Adams teaches some good stuff. I feel sorry for kind of picking that one out. But it's just so easy. It's so easy to kind of fall into the trap of depth. Okay, and I know Adam didn't edit this video. I know he didn't. It was the YouTubers, and it's kind of cut for something else. But in my mind, I was like, "Yay! Somebody's teaching somebody new and saying it's all about the feeling." Oh no, he looked at the depth and then commented on it. You see, afterwards he might have talked about the depth a lot, but you know that's what I say. Adam didn't edit it, so sorry, Adam, for taking that. So that's it. That's my 5 top things that are taught that are not quite true. I'm not gonna say they're wrong, but they're not quite true. 5 things taught to freedivers. Okay, so I've got a couple of seconds. Ted's going for these questions, so I'll ask, where is the pressure located in the chest of the glottis? Is it similar to Valsalva movement? Sorry if you said this, I was interrupted. Okay, so well, this is hook breathing. The pressure comes from the diaphragm and the chest and squeezing here. Yeah, so the pressure's not, there's no air held in on the glottis at all. There's no lock there. Okay, it's kind of, hang on, I'll just try it. It's held on the lips, I suppose, but no, it can't be because I can open my mouth, but it's open because it can't be held on the glottis. It must be. Yeah, it must be. It must be held on the glottis. I'm really sorry, guys. I'm really sorry. This has been a really good live stream. But Ted, this is your fault. This is your fault, Ted. It's a bit like having a poo. Okay, that's the only way I can describe it. It's, you know, when you're really struggling to go, it's a bit like having a poo. There you go. That's how you hook breathe. Okay. Sorry, blame it on Ted. He made me tell you. Okay, it's that pushing and you know the whole body compresses to create the pressure. Okay. He also asked, have you really noticed a difference in placement of fingers and pressure on the nostrils? Have I noticed a difference? That's a tough question, because that's like saying, have you noticed a difference in finning correctly? Well, you need to have finned incorrectly and been aware of it enough to make notes, mental notes, and then fin correctly and compare them to your bad finning, which you're never really going to do, because if you fin badly and you're aware of it, you're going to change it. And then you know, when you're finning correctly, if somebody said, hey, do you notice the difference between finning correctly and finning badly? And you go, well, yeah, because that was rubbish and this is good. But the difference of feeling, well, it's stronger, it's better. You know, I look better in the water, I feel better in the water, my dives are better. So yeah, but equally well, you had to be aware to kind of move along that path. So the same with the nostril breathing. When you just start, you're just trying to, the first time you do it, you're just trying to listen to the instructor and trying to kind of keep up with the ins and outs and the changing overs. As you progress, if you practice, you know, properly, you're going to increase and get better, you know, over time. So I suppose I could just just try it, and then try it properly. But then everything is different. My posture's different, my thought process different. I'm in the mind zone as well as changing the points. But I think from my point of view is, if you're going to do it, you might as well do it properly. If you're going to practice and train, you might as well practice and train properly. And Iyengar in that book, other books talk about it, but this one happens to be the one that I've got on the desk next to me, talks about the difference between the different points and how you can affect your brain pattern. So yeah, I'm going to answer that question. Yes, I do notice a difference sort of finger pressure because I can change the way my thoughts are by changing the pressure. Boom. That's the longest answer to get the simple one-word answer, isn't it? Okay. It seems too subtle to make a difference. Well, yeah, I kind of answered that. And then Alessia said temples. Probably talking about the hook breathing. Yeah. Personally, I wouldn't teach hook breathing unless somebody needed it. And therefore I probably wouldn't expect somebody to practice it unless they needed it. It's quite hard on the body, hook breathing. It should be hard on the body. If it's not hard on the body, it's pointless because you're not doing anything. Okay. That's it for tonight. So thank you very much for joining me. Hopefully we'll have don't forget, there was a Friday live stream by Gabby, did a massage program. So look back and have a look at that. I will be going through and sorting out the latest set of live streams with some new pictures, because I noticed that for some reason they're all the same picture. So I'll be doing that. If you've got anything you want me to cover, either on a Friday or in the coming few weeks, please drop me a line. Ask me and I will do it for you. So thank you very much and good night. See you next Monday. Or some of you I'll see you on Thursday at the club.